Mm. Hi Alexa. I think okay, good. So, can you hear me well, Alexa?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so it's really great to see you again today. How are you?
I'm good.
Everything is good on your college,
Yeah.
on your school?
hmm
Oh, okay. So, I think it seems that you are actually quite chill for the school and the task from school, right?
Um,
Or no?
like we are in like the process of like preparing for our final exams, but like right now it's still doable, so I'm fine with like still having lessons today.
Oh, so when actually the final exam is?
Like March.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
because yeah, we have a lot of like tryouts and also like our final exam during March. So maybe then I wouldn't be able to like be as freely as now. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, you know that this week is actually like, there's a long weekend, right? The holiday. Are you having that also? And do you have any
Yeah.
plan about that?
Um we will have our holidays like pretty soon, but like because we're gonna have holidays right now, like we're having a lot of like individual like tasks
Mhm.
and also like projects on our own. So yeah, we have to finish that.
Ah, yeah. So yeah, it's actually it's really good that you are gonna having a holiday too soon. Okay. So I think let's try to continue our lessons for today. Okay, are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So, before we start our new topic for today, can you actually tell me what we already learned at the last meeting?
I believe last meeting we actually had that hackathon lesson. So, pretty much like a review of everything that we've done before, from like loops and also like functions and all of the others. But like, it's like a harder level because it requires a lot more like thinking and problem solving. So yeah, that's what I remember from last lesson.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Actually, if you remember, if you actually already take like national exam, maybe hackathon is actually more like in Bahasa it's actually called HOTS, right? Yeah, the kind of questions that are actually not really that long in finishing, but it's really complicated in the thinking problem, the problem solving. So, yep, it's actually sometimes it's good to take on that kind of questions, okay? And today, there's a really good review, and we will try to continue our lessons for the new module actually. Okay, so we already add the new module. It's called Module 4. Okay, the hackathon is the last of the Module 3. And in these lessons, we will try to actually learn about lists and tuples, something that are really important to be masterized if you know if you want to be serious about programming, right? And I think you already familiar too with lists and tuples. And yeah, why I said that list, obviously list actually the most important one, because I think everything when you try to take on with programming, the output and the input of something like a data maybe or like a value is always in the form of lists, most of them, right? So it's actually really good to actually know about the features of lists, the functions, and how list is going to be working. And for you, maybe this is going to be a really good reminder also and summarize. Do you still remember about lists? I think you do, right?
Yeah, I already learned like a few. But like it's been a long time since I've actually used it again because um I don't think it's like as normal to use a list. Usually it's like you we use it when like we're talking about data, and like right now my like school isn't like learning particularly that, so not a lot of list used right now.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah. If you compare it to something like functions or loop, yeah, maybe it's actually gonna be more or less be, we're gonna learn it because, yeah, as that actually not really complicated rather than that loop or maybe in conditional statement, right? But yeah, in the form of output, I think most of them is actually in the form of lists. Okay, so let's see what we can actually learn about lists for today. I will try to share screen first. Hold on a second. Okay, do you see my slides in here, Alexa?
Yes.
Okay, good. So welcome to Module 4 Lesson 1. We're going to try to learn about lists and tuples. And here we go. Let's go to the next one. Okay, if you can see in here, this is some kind of, yeah, like our last actually subject that we already learned before, like random module. Do you remember that? And actually, we already learned about conditional statement. And this code actually can be optimized if you want to actually use another method to optimize this code. Because if you remember, I think we already learned about elif, right? So this is a little bit of review about conditional statements. And actually, for today, we will also try to learn about lists in the form of that way. So, yeah, as a definitions, a list is actually another Python data type. So it is actually used to store an ordered data sets. So the main key definition in here is actually this. The list is actually an ordered data sets. Why? Because if you remember, we already learned another data set before. It's actually called variable, right? That's actually also the data set that can actually store a data. But the difference is, it's actually variable has no, like positions, okay? And variable actually can just store one data, but list can actually use a multiple data inside it. And actually, if you talking about other data sets, we will try to, yeah, working with this again. It's actually called index, okay? I think you still remember about index, right? And yeah, I don't know if you know about this or not, but a little bit intermezzo. When we try to learn about strings, like in Module 1, Lesson 3, right? When we learn about strings, and if you remember that there is something like, for example, this sentence, okay? This sentence, if you actually using like len, if you cut it with slicing method, it's actually when you try to run the program, run the code, and when they give you an output of, maybe like a new slicing data, that format, okay, it's actually is in the form of list. So yeah, let's say that you have Python data type. You want to cut it, like you want to actually show the Python only. And when you get the Python, this is actually not in the form of strings, but in the form of lists. Why? Because there is actually an index, if you remember, like 0, 1, and etc. So that's why list is actually everywhere in the form of our method. Okay. So let's continue. Yep, this is going to be the structure of lists. If you can see in here, the unique thing about list is actually they using a square bracket. This is the unique thing about list, okay? And there's a couple of data that you can actually store into. And this is the list name. And also you can have an index, start from 0, okay? As a position number. So I want to ask you, do you think that list can actually store a multiple variant of data or just one variant of data inside one list?
I think It can hold like different types um of data, but not quite sure like how it would be like to use that list in like a program.
Okay, so that's actually a really good answer. So the answer is yes. You can actually store anything that you want in lists. Okay, so you don't have to actually using just integer, but you can combine it with another like strings, float numbers, like maybe like Boolean also, like true or false, and even another list. So you can actually keep another list inside a list. So that's the unique thing about lists. Okay. Let's continue. Okay, so I think you still remember about this function also that we already learned on the strings chapter, right? So this is actually, yeah, we're gonna use it again in here. So if you want to know what is the item with this index, you can actually using this method and you will get the item, okay? And let's continue to the next one. Okay, this is the methods of working with lists. So we can actually do a lot of things like, for example, create a list, get a list item, and print a whole list. And you can also add and remove an item, clear the entire list. And obviously, you can search for some specific item in a list. You can do some sort. And also, the unique thing is actually you can make it into a loop for list because this data type is actually can be iterate through the whole item inside it, okay? And you can also determine the length of the list. Okay, let's continue. Okay, let's see some functions in here. The first one, if you want to declare an empty list, so if you want to make a new list, but it's still empty, you can actually use in this first method, you can prepare a name and then equal, and then you can call list function like this. Okay, so if you make something like this, you actually already make a new list with participant as a name, but still empty. And from that point, if you want to add a new item, you can using some of OOP method command. So participants, the name of the list, dot append. Okay, so you have to using dot append. And then mention the item that you want to add inside a list. Okay. And for notes, whenever that you add a new item with the list, it's always going to be placed at the end of the list. Okay. It's not going to be placed at the first, at the middle, but it's always going to be put at the end of the number. Okay. And also you can print the whole entire list. So far, do you have any questions until here? Okay, good. Let's try to continue. Okay, this is the second method of actually if you want to make a new list. So if you remember, the first method is actually using the list function, right? The second method is actually using the same method, but a little bit different. So you can mention a name of your list, and this method is actually require you to actually make like, a list like in a manual way. So you can make a square bracket. And the benefit of using this method is actually you don't have to start with zero. You don't have to start with empty, but you can actually declare an item inside the new list directly. Okay, so you can actually add a couple things. It's not just one. You can add more. Okay, so this is the second method. And if you want to search for an item inside the list, you can using this method, the name of the item in and with the list name. And it will return to you as a Boolean value, true or false. Okay. If you want to sort, participants dot sort. So you can using dot sort function, and it's gonna be sort in lexicographic order. It means ascending numbers and letters of the alphabet. Okay. It's gonna be ascending. Okay. Is there any questions with these functions? Okay. Let's continue. Okay, so if you remember, when we try to learn about loop, For example, the for variant for A in B, this is actually using list because if you remember that the this sequence that we try to iterate with the loops is always in the form of list, right? So you can also using list in this method of loop. And if you want to determine the length of the list, you can actually meet with these familiar functions from strings. It's called len, okay? So with len, you can actually, yeah, how many items in list, okay? Determine the length of the list. Okay, let's continue. Okay, now this is the interesting one. So this is a new function. It's called split. I don't know if you actually already have introduction with this function or not. So the split function is actually used to separate or maybe giving you your your wish in the middle of every item inside the list. Okay, this is using split function. For example, let's say that we have a list like this and we have this item. You see that this is seems like a space, right? But if you remember, the space in Python is actually called character. It's always counting as a character. It's not a real space, but you can actually add a real space in the middle of every item by using this function called split. And then you can actually add space just like this. And if you print it, you see that there's a differences, right? And if you remember at the chapter one, module one, chapter one, I told you that in the in Python, if you want to know that this is a real space or not, it's actually always going to be um, using a comma as a proof. So if you see a comma, it means like this is a real space in the middle of every item. But actually, you can using anything besides space, maybe like slash, maybe like like and symbol and whatever. You can actually put anything in the middle of every item. You get it until here? Okay, good. So let's see in here. This is some actually, yeah, some normal comments that thing you already know, like plus if you want to merging, copy paste if you want to using yeah the star symbol, len getting a character. You can also using dot find if you want, yeah, to search also. And yeah, this is for searching also in the same method and the same output with a different method. Okay. Okay, let's continue. This is actually for lists. So far until here, do you have any questions? Okay, now I will give you another topic to share a screen before we go into tuples. I will try to stop share first and let's see in here for a second. Okay, I want to challenge you actually. So I will share this, okay, as a part of your task. So if you see something like this, can you actually giving me the command that are suitable with this, sorting the list of students? What is the functions it's gonna be look like just by saying it? You don't have to typing it. So what's gonna be look like if you want to sort? What do you think? If you want to sort, what function is gonna be suitable?
Um, to sort it, I think t there
Mm-hmm.
was that one function, I forgot the name, to sort it from like ascending
Yeah.
because
So, oh, you forgot the format?
yeah, the form.
Oh, it's okay. So the format is actually, yeah, if you see something like this, if you want to sort, you can actually just mention the name of the list first. So you can actually using users, okay, dot with the OOP style, dot, and then you can actually using
Mm,
sort, okay?
okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then now the next one, if you want to count in the total students, what is
Use
the
len
good? So len, and then you can mention the name of the
users. Yeah.
yeah, good. And then if you see something in here, so it says that you have to print beautifully the list of the student. Wow, it's okay. So if you can see in here, this is actually how to use loop inside a list, okay? For
Mm,
user in users, okay? Why you have to using loop? Because if you see from this task, you have to complete the program and you have to show the total users. So you have to iterate through the entire
mm.
list. Okay. And this is what do you think about this loop? Is it actually already correct or is there something missing with this one?
I think it might be missing because if like it's gonna the program's gonna run, I think for this the print I as strip user, I think it's gonna be the same user that's getting printed out because like I don't know, it doesn't seem like the index of the user is like getting is like
Hmm.
adding, like continuing.
Okay. Okay, okay. I think yeah. I know that it's actually kind of confused if you see it like this, right? But the thing is, this actually seems correct for me because it why I will tell you because you see that I is actually operate as an index. Okay, the index is actually start from one, so that's
Mhm.
why if you see in here, the list is actually using one as a first number. Okay, so they already say that the index start from one, and then if you can see, they continue to the print, and after that, the loop for user, this is the element name. You can use whatever in the list users. Okay,
Mhm.
and then you see that this is the format that you have to show, right? So the
Mhm.
index following by strip, following by the element name, the the inside, right? And then this is just, yeah, you have to follow it like I following by strip, following by the element name. And then you can actually just using plus equal to adding the index one, two, three, and four, right? And then you can print the total amount in here by using the amount users. What is this? This is the len that we already used before. So that's why you can actually show it like this. Total
Mhm.
is four. You got it?
Yeah.
Is there any questions?
No.
No? Okay, good. So actually, I think let's have a practice first about lists, okay? So I think I will giving you the link to the presentation first. As usual, you can actually download it. Okay, do you see the link? Okay, you can try to download. And let's try to log in to the platform if you already log in. And you can share screen also. Okay. Okay, let's start with lists. So you can try it first, and if you have any question, don't mind to ask me, okay? Okay, good luck, Alexa. So far, so good? Yeah, okay, guys. Do you need help with that one? Or still want to try? If I can help, I think, yeah, you're missing the lower function. And actually, you have to add the lower also at the the line 8. Another input in here, I think you have to using lower also. Nice. Okay, let's continue. Okay, this is a typo. Okay, so let's try to continue our explanation. Okay, so I think you can stop the share screen. So what do you think about the first set of the tasks?
It was good. It was a good review of the lesson. I think it's not too complicated, but like it's enough to like, yeah, to let me
Oh,
practice it. Yeah.
okay. But is it actually kind of hard or not really?
Not so much. I think it's like pretty like medium, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So let's try to continue a little bit about our explanation, okay? So I will continue to here. So I think before we try to continue our explanation about tuple, there is some several thing about list that maybe can be useful for you, okay? This is some extra features from the list that we can also try to implement later on the task, okay? So let's see in here. This is a slicing method that you already know. So I think I'm gonna skip this. You still remember about this, right? The slicing method. Okay. Okay, now the join. So this is kind of new for you, right? The join function. So you can actually using a join function in here for a list. Let's say that you can see in here, for example, you have something like user as a list. And if you want to print, you can see that you print a space dot join, and it's going to be joined with the list of the user. Okay, and if you print it with another variation, let's say that you want to using something like this. Okay, then dot join with user, and if you run the program, you will get something like this. Do you notice the differences between the first one and the second one in here?
The first
Yeah,
one, the elements of the list are being connected using just a space, but like in the second one, there's this like arrows that is connecting.
yeah. Yeah, if you see from the output, this is actually pretty much the same with the split, if you remember. Yeah, right? So you can actually using join or split with the different method with the same output at least. Okay. So this is another variation for you. Let's continue. This is the yeah, this is the minus thing with join. Well, if you want to using join, okay, if you're using split, you can actually using any data type. Okay, so you can add in the middle of that with split, but with join you cannot using it with another data type. So your list must have the same data type. If at least one of the element is not the same one, an error will occur. Okay, so you have to using the same. That's the minus thing about join. Okay, let's continue. Okay, this is the loop. I think we already know. Now the map function. Do you ever heard about map before? Oh, okay. So map is a function that can be applied to each element of the iterable object, which is going to be list. Okay. An iterable object is an object that which element can be viewed sequentially. Okay. And then you can continue. So with map function, if you actually call it, you have to call it once. Okay. And then you can use it in a format like this map, and then you can mention the data type and then the object itself, okay, the list. This function needs to be applied to the element, and this can be either a built-in Python function or a function that are written independently. So you can actually choose between, you can actually make it a built-in, or want to write it manually. Let's see some examples, okay, for the map function. So in here, let's see in here you have some list that has a string, all of it as a data type of each item, okay? So this list only has a strings, and you see that you want to make a new list, okay? Score underscore new, and then you make with list function, and then you want to map, okay? So pretty much you want to change the data type from strings into integer. So that's why you are trying to using map. And then mention the old list. And if you print it, you will see no differences with the numbers. But you see that now the quotation is gone because it changed automatically from strings into integer. You got it? Okay. Still the same thing. Now let's talking about tuple. So tuple, there is not much to discuss actually because yeah, you see that. Do you remember the characteristic of tuple, or are you forget the main characteristic of tuple?
I think tuples like a type of list too, but like I forgot like specifically um how it is.
Uh, okay, okay, it's okay. So yeah, the main characteristic that make it tuple is pretty much simple. Is actually because if list is immutable, you can add it with it, you can change, you can actually do something with it. The tuple is actually the opposite of that. It's immutable. Immutable analog of a list. Basically, a list type that cannot be changed after you made it. So that's why it's pretty simple. Because after you made, you cannot do anything. You cannot sort, you cannot make it, you know, change anything inside it. If you cannot add, you cannot remove. So pretty much has to be the same thing. If you do that, it will become an error message to the Python. So that's the characteristic of tuple, okay? It protects stored data from unintended changes. So in company, a big company, a core data is always going to be in the form of tuple, not list. Why? To protect the security of that core data, okay? So the tuple is going to be look like a variable because it using the same normal bracket, not a square one. Okay. And yeah, if you want to make a empty tuple, it's like this. And also you can using the second method to declaring a tuple with elements like this. You got it? Okay, let's continue. Yeah, you see that a tuple doesn't support item assignment, so you cannot change anything. And yep, that's for tuple. As I already said, it's actually not much to do. Before that, before we continue, is there any questions?
No.
Okay, let's try to continue. I will try to stop share. You can share screen again. I think this practice, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be in the mix of list and tuples. Okay, so yep. It actually should be join, yep, and map in here. Yeah. Okay, Alexa, can you stop the share screen first? Okay, I think our time is almost end, but what do you think about today's questions and tasks? Do you think it's confusing?
I think it's comparing to the other ones, it's like more confusing because I spend like less time with lists on the usual like basis. So I think it's not as familiar to me, so I need a lot more practice on it.
Okay, okay. But so far from the topic, are you understand about it so far? Okay, that's good. So I think, yeah, I think you already learned a lot, but it still needs time to actually practicing so you can actually be more fluent about it. Okay. So thank you for today, and I think I will see you again on Thursday for the next lesson. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye,
Thank
Alexa.
you, Pa. Bye.
Bye.